Okay, so I saw Thunderbolts, and I gotta say, I liked the movie. It wasn't bad. Yeah, there's clearly a lot of problems in the movie, but then again, what MCU doesn't have a bunch of problems in any of their movies nowadays? But for the most part, this movie itself was pretty much on the tamer side of the stupid kerfuffle that is current Marvel movies. So it's not as if anything is forgiven for all the craziness, but essentially the movie was still very much watchable. I enjoyed myself thoroughly while looking at it. The jokes were okay. A lot of the stuff going on was fine. It wasn't. It's just it wasn't bad. Hell, I might even contemplate. Well, I am still contemplating purchasing it if it comes out. Well, when it come out on Blu-ray or whatever, and if whether or not to add it to the collection, which is something I haven't done for any MCU property since Deadpool Wolverine, and we all know why that was actually good and had nothing to do with the MCU. But realistically, the perfect way to summarize exactly why everyone is essentially all gaga over this movie is because, like, again, it's still a good, fun watch. It's still an enjoyable movie, but for the most part, you've seen this before. So it's like, of course you're gonna like this. The same thing with me. And it's like, yeah, of course I like this movie because I also like the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad and the Justice League and the Suicide Squad. It's all those movies. It's the exact same concept. More so copying the Avengers than anything else. They're just manic, depressing, look at me type of characters. And therein lies the main problem with the Thunderbolts movie is that it has these characters in it that you don't care about because they all come from things and different properties within the MCU that you could really give less of a shit about. Black Widow's little sister, who cares? From the terrible Black Widow movie. Good lord. You got basically Soldier Boy from the terrible Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show. Who cares? You got Ghost from the terrible second Ant-Man movie. Who cares? They even have Taskmaster from the terrible Black Widow movie. For a limited time only. And then you have the Red Guardian from the terrible Black Widow movie. So nothing in this movie, and then like the main pseudo encroaching villain is essentially Elaine, that is supposed to be Lady Hydra, but they basically just kind of made her this weird lady going around trying to do stuff to gain power. There is no insight given into her character as to her motivation, what her actual goal is, or anything like that. It just seems like the overall thing she's trying to accomplish is just have a bunch of power to where no one can really tell her not to do anything, but you don't know what she's trying to do in order to justify whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that the movie kind of paints it as, well, she's a bad guy. And it's like, how so? And also, why hasn't anyone tried to stop her? What is it that she's doing that essentially is this bad or this terrible? I don't know. The movie never goes into detail with it. But again, going back to what I was stating earlier, the main issue with this damn movie is that the development of all the characters is basically non-existent. There really isn't anything given to any of these people outside of them just all being dicks to each other. And then at the very end, they just kind of group them together, and then you're kind of left with this mindset of like, okay, well, I guess like they're supposed to be a team, but we don't see that synergy that comes together like with Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers, or hell, even the first Suicide Squad movie, where they had a small justification thing as to them finally grouping and working together, and it kind of like, camaraderie. Like, you literally have a part where Black Widow's sister just kind of calls everyone out and being a douche, and then when the Void is taking over everything, she's kind of sacrificed herself, and the rest of them go, sure, why not? Why don't we do the same thing? Yeah. So it's really just a huge kerfuffle of a movie. But Again, not unwatchable. And the main positive takeaway from the movie to me that stood out the most and needed, like, if it dove more into exactly how dark that could have been, it could have opened up a brand new chapter for the MCU, which they're not going to do, let's face it. But dealing with the Sentry, aka Bob, how they handled his character was phenomenally good. The actor that played him was great. Like, he was just spot on fantastic. For first run in with all these characters and everything he was doing, he was fan-fucking-tastic. He played this character well. Like, how he was just, it was this wonderful kind of little quirkiness that he brought to where it was like, I know he's dangerous, but I don't know how dangerous. And then it just kept building up that suspense all the way to the end, to where essentially they kind of defeated him with a therapy session, but he was such a strong, encumbersome villain that there really was no other way that they were going to be able to take him down. And then there's this fantastic scene where they show the Sentry just be the Sentry, which was just badass. But again, one good scene a good movie does not make. But still, the character was handled well. Could have been better, but then again, a lot of the characters could have been better. Hell, Soldier Boy's character, any type of development with him, non-existent. Same thing with the Red Guardian, same thing with Ghost. Ghost is the most disappointing of a character. Hell, she doesn't do anything. Hell, even when Black Widow's sister calls her out and she'd be like, yeah, you're like a horrible person or whatever. And it's like, is she? She hasn't said anything to warrant you being like she's a bad person. Hell, all of you guys were essentially assassins and or mercenaries, if you want to go there. And it's like, she hasn't done anything to essentially be antagonistic to you guys outside of just needing your help to save herself, as well as responding to the dickish behavior that everyone else is already like putting out there. So I didn't see any justification behind saying that she was a bad person, but all of them were supposed to be bad people, and it just really didn't come across that well done. And then you just had so much of this shit being like, oh, feel sorry for me, please feel sorry for me, because and it's like, ugh. Hell, she didn't even get I touch Bob, have a vivid dream of like some fucked up shit happening in my past that might make me want to kill myself type of thing. And which honestly a lot of characters needed, because hell, it even happened to Elaine, and then it was like, all right, what does this mean? And it's like, it means nothing. And it's like, because we're not doing anything with these characters. Their development of characters in this movie is damn near non-existent. And then when it came to understanding Bob and what it was that he was going through, when it brought up the evil entity that would be the main villain of this movie, being the Void, it was like, yeah, there's so much to work with this character because of how crazy this situation is with someone of his mental state having all this power. And it's like, yeah, this should be the main focus of this movie, but it didn't know how to focus on anything, so stuff was just all over the place. I enjoyed the fact that Black Widow's sister called Red Guardian dad. I enjoy shit like that, because they are a family. They still think of themselves as a family. That's something that you got from the Black Widow movie, and they kept it, and they still have it going, and it's like, that's fine. Him being the comic relief character, hey, whatever. But them doing what they did, like like her even breaking down about losing Black Widow and everything. And it was like, it was a nice sentiment and a okay thing to do with her character. But again, the main issue with the movie is that they were kind of trying to bring together all these different people, but they just didn't know how to do it. Honestly, they should have took a page from what James Gunn did from the Suicide Squad, where this damn near was like an alternate concept, where with that movie, the overall action concept, over the overall action and story and whatnot is just kind of whatever, but the character development in that movie is fantastic. While as with this movie, the overall action and concept is the main focus, but the character development is just whatever. So yeah, but the best of both worlds for those kind of movies is the original Avengers movie. It's a goddamn shame. No one learns anything. But right now, I kind of have to say that we're just on a tangent. I feel as if we're seeing a lot of movies that essentially are like copies of other movies that are or just not even in the sense of going similarities. And it's like they're damn near the exact same movie. It's just handled with different characters and it just tweaking a little stuff with bells and whistles. I recently made a video talking about the new movie that came out, Sinners, and how that had way too many things in it that just reminded me of From Dusk Till Dawn, and I didn't even see the movie. And then upon speaking with other people who actually have seen the movie, I'm for sure, I'm like, now I'm 100% certain it is copying From Dusk Till Dawn. It's just that the small things that people are sitting there trying to devalue as it being an outright copy of it, and it's like, well, to me that's just bells and whistles, but it is still the same movie. And so it was like, upon looking at Thunderbolts, and I was like, yeah, and it's the same movie as all those other superhero team up movies, and it was like ragtag group of people with powers coming together in order to defeat an enemy, and then blah blah blah, they become popular because of it. Yeah, that movie has happened before. It happened before a lot of times already, and whatever. And that's the problem. And that essentially isn't the problem, but that is the main takeaway as to why a bunch of people really enjoy this movie. It's copying a good movie. So that's why it's not as bad as it could have been, because of the fact that it's like, yeah, it's not trying to do anything original, new, like interesting or just like overbearing and whatnot. And it's like, well, it's still Disney writers doing what Disney writers do. Still got the weird MCU jokes thrown in at like inappropriate times for some reason. It doesn't lack a lot of action, but it does lack any type of accountability for female characters or any type of substance for the motivation and dedication or the villainy that is supposedly the villains within the series and their overarching concepts. Because the Elaine character has appeared in multiple things within the MCU now, and yet I still have no idea what the hell she's doing. Like, she's been gathering people, and then just in the beginning of this movie, supposedly she was just destroying all evidence of her corporation. Yeah, I'm talking too fast. Of her corporation that she's been running, doing all these little black op things and whatnot. But it's like, for what? To what extent? What was the point? Why was she doing all this stuff? She's been sending Black Widow's sister out to kill a bunch of people all this time, and I don't know why. You know, they started the Century Project to make a hero. Why? Like, you know, like there's no justification behind anything this villain is doing. But that's supposed to be the villain. And like, she has an issue with other countries having better technology than America, but it's like the shit she's doing is like, okay, is it for America? Because you're using like weird, just like super freaking weird. Like, but hell, I didn't even bring up freaking Winter Soldier. And again, another character is just kind of thrown into the mix because, hey, what else are you doing with this guy? Nothing. And so they just stuck him in the movie, and then he just happened to follow these people. And it's like, hell, his motivation was to try and stop Elaine, and then just by the end of the movie, he was just cool with being an Avenger now. It's like, what? Now, I'll say this. One of the better things done in this movie is the post-credit scene. The very last scene that they did is honestly something I was like, this being as long as it was and what they did, I was like, yeah, this actually was an okay thing to do as far as like a tie-in for all these characters. You basically had the New Avengers be the New Avengers for a good, like over a year now. And then essentially they're having issues with the fact that Sam Wilson was publicly stating they're not the Avengers. So I was like, I like that. And then it was actually an issue that was such a big deal for them because they couldn't accept the fact that he doesn't agree with what they're doing or who they're working for and what they're about. Him and Winter Soldier had a falling out, as well as essentially him getting the copyrights to the name Avengers. So it's like they technically can't use that name, even though they've been calling themselves the New Avengers or the Avengers or whatever. And it just kind of showcasing or what the movie could have built on which is that yes, even though these are people who are trying to do the right thing, they still wind up working for bad people doing bad things. And again, like, it supposedly having a sense of discovery and purpose and what it is that I want to do and what it is I'm trying to be. That was an underlying theme in the movie, but it never got resolved or came across as nothing helped with that. They just stated it and then they did nothing with it. But it could have led into, more so much like how all of them were working for Elaine in the first place, where it's like, well, now we're kind of back in the same mix of things. It's just that we got the admiration of people. They're calling us the Avengers. We feel like we're superheroes, but realistically, it's like, you guys are still doing the same shit. You just are in the spotlight now, and so you think you're heroes, but you actually are not. Or it's like you want to be heroes, but you're still going down the wrong path in how to incorporate that because you're bad people who haven't dealt with your traumas. Whatever. There are so many layers that this movie could have tackled that would have been pretty cool to see, or gave a lot of insight to these characters that would have been interesting. Because I'm just stating thoughts that came to my head that would have been interesting to see. But the main issue with this movie is that they don't dive into any of that stuff. All of that shit is put to the side to include typical MCU bullshit. The lame jokes, the lame, they have some over-the-top action scenes that are just completely ridiculous, even in how they're handled, because it's like, these people are supposed to be like tactical and whatnot, or even with the superpowered people and whatnot, but it's somewhat tactical in how they're handling shit. But it's like, this is just a weird filler of time that isn't necessary. And it's like, and even those are just have just a ridiculous mixture of that bad, corny MCU joke and one-liners and shit like that, which just makes some of the stuff kind of, you roll your eyes at, even though I'm supposed to be engaged or care that something might happen to these people. Hell, when they fought the Sentry, it was multiple times where he threw people outside the window and he just still brought them back in. It was like, why would you make them come back in? Like, through the window, you threw them outside purposely, and then you just brought them back inside, and it's like, whatever. But again, the movie itself, and it's like, despite all the negativity that I just laid on you, I still enjoyed the movie. I still found myself watching it and was fine with looking at it. I just didn't have an issue until I sat back and thought about what I looked at, which typically happens with MCU stuff. Plus it's really bad, like Ant-Man Quantumania. But yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that, like, to me, gave it a pass. And I was like, hey, I was able to sit down, turn off my brain, and enjoy this film. And it is what it is. But yeah, for the most part, everyone being all hyped and shit about it, they're goofy. Those people are just goofy. But yeah, it's a very much watchable movie. It's not a great movie by any metric, nor is it like one of the most fantastic things. Oh, hell no. Is it Marvel coming back? Good Lord, never. That will never happen. But this is just, it's an okay good movie. That's it. That's the end for my review. This has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Daniel the Flame, and as always, good people. I'm gonna wait until you finish climbing the ladder. There you go. I hope you had fun.